Welcome to Cornerstone Cages, and we have a special treat today. We're going to be talking to Mr. Blaha, his daughter Hannah. And so our channel is all about helping people have the best rabbit project meat pen possible. And so we're going to be talking to them and getting some insight on what they do. And we'll go ahead and we'll get started. I do have quite a few questions here that I want to ask them. So first of all, the first question is, how many years have y'all been doing this?
This past year is my third year.
Third year. Okay. Now I understand that you granded the first year?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then the second year, how'd you place?
8th place.
8th place out of how many pins?
192.
192. And this last year you granded out of 193?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's very good. In Burleson County?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So how do you feed your rabbits? Y'all use a crock?
Yes.
All right. Now, anyone who's watched videos that I've done, I'm against crocks, but here you go. Now, why do you have this stick? Keeps them out?
This was a loaner from a friend that used to raise rabbits in East Texas. They moved back to Burleson County, and they decided not to do it anymore. And her good friend Paige let her borrow it.
Yep.
Yes, I would take it. It keeps them out of the bowl?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can
pick it up.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't like a crock, is because they can get in it, but they can get into a J feeder too, to a certain degree anyways. A little bit more prone to do that and then, soil the feed. But this is obviously not something that you would buy at the store. They've modified it somehow.
They homemade
Yes, sir.
them.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. So how much feed do you give the rabbits each day or week or what have you? Do you regulate that feed?
No, we let them eat however much they want.
Okay, so free feed.
Free feed.
24/7.
Yes.
Okay. And so you don't feed them, you're just keeping that bowl, that crock full.
In the morning,
Yes. In the morning and in the night we refill it.
about 7 and 7.
Okay. All right. Now, do you use more than one crock? Do they ever run out of feed?
Oh no.
No, never.
Okay.
No, they'll eat about an inch out of that when they're really eating.
Okay.
And then we'll just put fresh on top. And on Sundays, what do?
We dump them out and refill it with fresh feed.
Brand new food.
Okay. So once a week, you're getting rid of the old and putting in all fresh.
Do a total cleanup.
Okay. Now, do you ever feed treats or supplements or anything like that?
We feed supplements to them, just
Is
a
there
little.
a secret recipe?
Yeah.
Pretty secret.
Okay. Well, that's how it is. A lot of people will use, whatever they're accustomed to or what they've had success with and so on. So we won't ask you what your secret is unless you want to just tell everybody. No one's against that. But there's a lot of different formulas.
You can tell them what we do with it, how we give it to them.
We sprinkle it on top of their food. It's their snack.
Okay. And how often do you give them that supplement?
Every morning and night.
Every morning and every night?
Yeah.
Okay.
But start them off real slow.
Okay. All right.
I don't know how technical. When we first start, we just sprinkle just so they get.
Few oats or whatever.
Yeah, just sprinkle it on there.
Right.
And then when you're really going, it's where you can still barely see the brown of the food.
Okay.
And then if they finish eating, it doesn't take them 10 minutes to eat their fill.
Right.
If there's supplement left, then you gave them too much and you just back off.
Okay. Yeah, and the term that we would normally use is top feed. When we're going to give a supplement like that, it's called a top feed, and it's literally put on top and that kind of thing. Now, did you see any difference where they wanted just to eat the supplement and not the feed?
You have to be careful of that, because if they get too dependent on it, they will not eat the feed, and then we get runs, and then we go to the coastal hay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will share with our viewers the way that we've done that in the past is that give them that supplement. I'm not going to call it a topper because it's not even a part of the feed. Give them that supplement after they've eaten. So the supplement's given to them in the evening. And if you're feeding in the morning or if you're feeding in the evening, you give it to them in the morning. So they've already eaten all of their food, you might say. But you're giving free feed, so you've got,
we do have our own name for it, though.
Crack. Rabbit crack.
Rabbit crack.
You were
okay.
little. You'll be digging in the bag, fixing to put it on, and they will be looking at you like,
Bring it on.
bring it on.
Yeah, they hear that sound, huh?
Hear or smell it one.
Right. Okay. So how often do you weigh the rabbits?
We weigh the rabbits every Sunday when we're doing all of our cleanings.
Okay, so just once a week.
Yes, sir.
During regular growth.
Unless they're like, we're getting closer to fair time and we think some of them are overweight, then we'll like weigh them more often.
Okay, how often do you weigh them then? Let's say in the last 2 weeks when weights are really crucial, how often are you
Probably
weighing?
Sundays and Wednesdays.
So
Twice a week.
Yeah, and we had a couple getting pretty close this year, so we weighed more than ever, and actually had to hold one just to so we didn't go over, and
Right.
and we were good on it. But as long I have a chart that we do,
Sure.
and see the average per bunny per week, and as long as that average is staying, the first 2 weeks, I know I go ahead and put a target weight the next week.
Mhm.
So if they're not there, then we'll start monitoring it closer. But for the most part, it's on Sundays.
Right. And that's one reason why I always like to talk to others. And I encourage you to talk to others, or I encourage you to put comments down below, because we can learn from one another. Now, I'm an advocate for weighing every day. You get those rabbits out, you turn them over, you check them for DQs, you're handling them. Not very long, but you do handle them. You flip them over. You can see my other videos on that. And then you weigh them, and in that way you're keeping very, very good tabs, because sometimes they can shoot up pretty quick before you know it, especially those last 2 weeks. I would advise weighing every day, but here's the exception to the rule, and there's still success. So there's not always one right way. There's a lot of ways that we can actually raise these rabbits and still be successful in the end. So what was your daily routine? Did you have a daily routine?
We would come in the morning and refill their food and give them their crack and give them more water. And then
Always have water, right?
We did
Yes.
Crocs this year for the first time. I don't know where I.
Oh, the Crocs for the water?
yes, and
Okay.
they drink those really good, like
Really
really
well.
fast.
Right.
So
Right.
that's good.
Now, did you find that to be an issue as far as watering with Crocs?
It was good. They drank best rabbits we had.
Were they ever was the Croc ever empty?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Or soiled.
Right,
Yes.
right.
just
Or
take
they
some-
had their hands in them or something like
Right,
that.
right. Yeah, and just the food on their mouth and so on.
Mhm.
And that's one reason why I said, I'm not in favor of Crocs. And also, you never want to go without water. Now, let me just share this little tidbit. And here again, we're just coming, kind of a round table thought process. Is that if a rabbit goes, let's say, 8 hours without access to water, and it is thirsty and it wants to drink. By the way, if a rabbit stops eating, the number one cause is no water. So, if a rabbit doesn't have water, it's not going to eat. And if it's not going to eat, it's not going to have gains. So, water is absolutely crucial. It needs to be there every time they want it, no matter what.
Yeah, we still did the double bottles. We
watering.
just added the Crocs.
Okay.
And man, if we could have kept the Crocs full, I think we would barely ever had to fill up the bottles. That's how much they like.
Okay, so they preferred
They did.
the Crocs. They preferred to just lap that water. Okay, so you had a couple of bottles
Double
and
bottle
two.
Yes.
Okay, so you had ample water.
Oh yes.
Okay, all right, very good. And so there goes, that kind of proves the point right there. So very, very good. So every day you're feeding and making sure they have water.
Yes.
Anything else?
Every other day we did the pine.
Oh yeah. Every other day we did the pine shavings on
Yes.
the underneath, and we dump their trays so it just doesn't stink in here all the time.
Okay. Yeah, and one of the things that you can't see right now, it's not in the shot, is that these are cages with pans. So they change out the pans periodically. How often are you changing the pans? Every other day or
Every
so?
other day.
Every other day. And so you put in shavings underneath?
Yes.
Okay, now a lot of our customers are going to have where the poop just falls on the ground. We do build stack cages and so on, and so in that circumstance, it is good to change that out. Now, one of the reasons, if you didn't know, and I'm sure it's not something that you didn't know, but ammonia is an issue, and that can affect their respiratory. So you're not seeing this building, but this is probably what, a 10 by 16, 12 by 16, a 12 by 16, and we'll talk about this later. But ventilation is important, especially if it's a closed-in building. So let's go ahead and we'll continue going down this the question list here. Tell me about grooming. Did you do any grooming at all?
Be honest.
Not
when did you
until
start?
probably about a week or two before fair.
When
That's when we started doing the water bottle.
When we came to him.
Yeah, when we went back to you and we started doing the water bottle and brushing them.
That's the first time we've ever even heard of it.
Okay.
And I think it helped a lot there at the end to get that baby hair right.
Right.
Do the 50.
Right.
Because I felt the reserve pen of rabbits, and their hair was not as smooth as ours.
Right.
So that could have been what changed the difference between reserve and grand.
So we only really had
with ours.
5 or 6 days
that you really work that fur. And as a general rule, you don't have to do that with your kits. There's nothing special about the fur. It's only 10 points as far as when the judge is taking a look at that rabbit and everything. So it's really not that important, but where it oftentimes will affect the judge is just subconsciously when they put their hands on that rabbit.
When it's smooth.
And it makes an impression. It's just like seeing a mirror that's got some spots on it. You don't really see the spots because you're not looking at the spots, but you know there's something not clean about it. And so that fur can make a difference in that regard.
And I know the first year when she won, Michael, they were tight, neck and neck on her and the reserve. And he says, I know it's a meat pen, and I know fur should not matter, but it's because this one's fur or coat is so slick.
Sure.
Now, we didn't do any grooming, but I guess the feeding or whatever we did helped her nudge out reserve and get grand the first year.
Right. And one of the supplements that you can add to the feed as a topper or whatever you want to call it is going to be the sunflower seeds, the oil. I can't think of it. Black seed oil, sunflower seeds. They will definitely put a shine on the coat. And so that can definitely make a difference. Okay, so grooming, you just did that at the end, but that's okay.
Next
but it
year
does get some of that baby fur out.
And I was going to ask, when do you recommend?
First, right at when you get the rabbits
daily
start. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just working at. Now you're not maybe rubbing quite 50. As much as you did, but some will say 50 to 100 times. Even 5 weeks till. When the kid's 5 weeks old, and just trying to get some of that baby fur out so you get more of that fly back.
Yeah, we will be doing that.
Can make a difference. Okay, so did you have any health issues at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What? Tell me about your health issues. In the rabbits, of course.
One of mine passed away from coccidiosis.
We think.
Okay.
We just walked in here one Sunday morning before we was going to church, and it was in the pen, and that's the bad thing about raising them together. Of course.
Right.
Kind of had a breakdown moment, and we got to get the other one separated from this. We were headed to church, and we had we called it the infirmary cage, that green cage, and go ahead.
Oh, and so we quarantined the other ones that were with the one that died, and we put it in the pen so it couldn't infect any others.
Well, there's a lot of people that had issues this last year with the heat and also with coccidiosis. And
we're not sure if it was it. I tend to believe if it would have been it, then we may have lost those other 3 rabbits.
So you quarantined, but you didn't do anything as far as medication or doctoring?
Well, we did
Corid.
Corid. Okay, you gave him some Corid.
5 days.
Okay, 5 days on, 5 days off, and
just did it one round because we were 3 weeks in already. I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
And next year, when we get them, they'll probably go through a round of cord just as a preventative. I don't know if that's good practice or not, but that's what we're thinking right now.
Okay. Yeah, it does clean them out. One of the issues that you have to be careful about any kind of medication like that is these are market rabbits, and so with the intent to go to market, depending on the medication, you're really not supposed to.
Oh, there's I didn't see a withdrawal on there, but
yeah, well, depending on the medication, that's all I'm saying. But
okay.
yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. Okay, so I talked about your watering. What environment were they kept in? I know I'm standing here and I can see everything, but why don't y'all give the people a description of the building and so on?
It's just an old pump house.
With a AC unit, a window unit
Right,
in it.
right.
And we keep on 76 or 75.
Okay,
That's
okay,
what,
very
that's
good.
what the unit says that reads, but we normally 78's my target. I don't want to get too cold.
Okay,
Just a little tip. Last year, maybe it was, I tried to go a little cooler because I think at first you don't want to go too cold because you're scared of getting up there and it being 90 degrees and you losing your rabbits because they're used to the good life. And we saw a cold front coming in. I said, I'm gonna get it down, maybe help them eat. Well, what happened that week that I put it down, they hardly drank anything at all. I don't know if that little bit of temperature change. I mean, we kept it on 72 or so, but I don't know if that, being at 78 or 72 caused the intake of fluid or not.
right.
But no more.
Right.
We're gonna stick to 78.
Now, one of the things that you have to take into consideration is where you're raising your rabbits. So, if you're watching this video and you're in Missouri, it's going to be a lot different than us down here in Texas. When I'm sweating right now as we're speaking, and it can't be that cold. I mean, that warm in
80.
here.
It's about 80.
And it's October the 3rd, I think,
Fourth.
4th. Okay, so. And that's really a hard time for y'all to have to go to the show, period. So someone who's showing, as far as our show is concerned, it's going to be mid-January. So I don't have that much of a problem, But as a general rule, the colder it is, the more the rabbits are going to move around and the more they'll eat and so on.
Cooler it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But and what you experience is maybe specific for the rabbits, but it could be for y'all too, and just their conditioning to a certain degree. So every circumstance is different, and it helps just to kind of keep your mind open about options and don't just be stuck on one thing. That's one thing that we can always walk away from is, again, there's not just one set way. But this environment is a concrete floor. You have trays that you're, so they're in a closed-in pen.
Run a box fan for circulation.
Yeah, mention that. There is a window over here that you can't see, and then you have a door on the other side of the
open window, and I'll try to flush to circulate it. If it's a cool night or whatever, not too much humidity.
Right.
I would open it up and circulate the air just to try to get them some fresh air. The ammonia.
Yeah, because it might have gotten down to 78 during the night, right?
Oh yeah, maybe. Close.
Maybe. Yeah, in September it might have gotten down to something below 80 anyways. Okay, so do you favor one sex over another?
We don't do sex at our fair, so
Don't pay attention to that?
No.
Okay, so you're not kind of trying to keep track of whether the boys grow faster than the girls or anything like that. You just raise the
showing
rabbits. And, right, okay. All right, so why did you choose Californians? Did y'all have an option as far as your show is concerned?
It's-
Do New Zealand or Californians.
Okay, those are the two breeds.
Yes.
And so it might be obvious to us, but for the audience, why did you choose Californians?
Because it was one or two of the options.
Right, and well, there's a lot of
Really,
Californians
yeah.
around this area.
Yes.
If you go up north, you're going to find more New Zealands than you do Californians, but around here, it's really tough to find New Zealands and find good New Zealands
Okay.
too. So, anyways, that's it's supply and demand, and oftentimes you'll find that judges will cater to a certain breed also. So if you know what judge is going to be at that show and you're in a place where it could be Palominos and Chinchillas and New Zealands and Californians and the Argents and so on, then go ahead and try to find out what that particular judge prefers and then pull your meat pin from that particular breed. That can definitely make a difference. Okay, so what did you learn from this project? I mean, my goodness, y'all came right out the gate with a grand, and then you came in 8th, and then you granded again this last year. So I know you're quite humble, Mr. Blaha, but at the same time, you have had success. So, what have you learned in the last 3 years? Maybe each year.
What years for sure? You can tell about the.
Oh yeah. Make sure and check for ear mites.
Check for ear mites, yes.
And make sure you're treating it, so
Okay.
you don't.
How do you treat ear mites?
With a drop of mineral oil in their ear. That's how
Okay.
we do it.
And then we learn 4 days later you need to come back and give it another drop in case there's eggs in there.
Okay, very good.
And then there's ear mite medicine that one of the other contestants' father told me about that I can get. So we'll probably have some of that on the shelf next year too.
Yeah, you can't just give them a shot orally in their mouth of ivermectin.
Can you?
Ivermectin. Mm-hmm.
Right
sure
up there.
Good.
Yeah. Half a cc,
Okay.
0.5 cc will take care of that, and that's it. Done.
Oh, really?
You walk away.
Okay. Well.
The homeopathic way would be the oil, and you can use baby oil, you can use tea tree oil, any kind of oil. I wouldn't use motor oil, but yeah, but the oil just suffocates the mite, is what it boils down
Okay.
to. So that's all. That's it. It just suffocates them, and then you do it the 4 days later.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had, but and the ears too about cleaning them.
Oh yes, clean their earwax out of them. 'Cause
Okay.
at the fair, when she was like
Your brothers. Your
checking them in, my brother's pin, she kept pulling earwax out, and like she kept thinking they were mites, but it was just earwax. So.
Oh, really?
brothers. Do you,
She was very thorough then.
oh yeah. Do you? I mean, take a Q-tip and no.
Mm-mm.
We didn't either, and people are like, "You never clean your rabbit's ears?" It's like, no, I never. I looked in there, make sure there wasn't sores or whatever, or crusting. But they're like, "Yeah, we cleaned down to that one cavity or whatever."
Mm.
Really. So
Yeah.
we may start, especially with that judge. We will, if we have her ever again, we'll be careful to make sure the ears are very clean.
That's even more impressive that you did so well. And I'll tell you, at our show, the judge didn't even check them for DQs. So I'm much less look in the ear.
Yeah, our check-in for 190 pins, 5+ hours.
Mm-hmm.
She's very thorough. Yeah.
So what else have you learned along this trip?
Don't get rabbits from within like a 2-hour radius, because everybody else gets them from there. So you can get a good pick.
Okay, so you want to go outside of that particular, you're saying a 2-hour radius, just to have different blood,
Yes.
you might say? Okay. At y'all's show, do a lot of people buy from particular breeders?
They all buy from like the same breeders.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Or there's like groups from Brenham and Bryan
Giddings.
and Giddings and stuff like that.
Do you know how many clubs there are that show, you might say, different 4-H clubs? by
We just know
chance?
there's a rabbit 4-H club in Burleson County. One, and
Okay.
I don't know what else they have, but I know out of the 190 pins, there were 32 pins from one breeder,
Mhm.
and then I know the one from Bryan was probably more than that.
Okay.
So the majority of the rabbits were, just say, from 3 breeders here. So if you don't get some, and I know you never know, because this year Hunter was going to have the better pin, and Hannah ended up with it again, but we didn't know. You never know.
Right.
I mean, you have a good idea, but you don't for sure know. And if a breeder has so many, I mean, your good ones and your okay ones, and if we're one of 30 pins from a breeder that everybody's getting from, you're just going up this with a salmon, all going up the same string. So I like to be a little bit different and try to reach out there and get some better stock.
Well, if you're in it to win it, and they're kind of all coming from the same stock, then you kind of wonder,
Yeah.
But under most circumstances, it's the best thing about the rabbit project or any of these livestock projects is to teach the children, the kids. You're not quite you're beyond the children age, but it's teach them responsibility. accountability. This is a live animal that they're having to take care of, and it is serious. And so that's the bottom line. But obviously, there are some other things that are at stake.
Oh yeah, we're pretty competitive.
Right.
If we're going to do it, we're going to do it 100%, and whatever we can do beyond our control, we're going to try to do it. So
right. And the breeder has a responsibility, but also when that breeder releases those rabbits, there's a responsibility on the grower, on that meat pen project, whoever that is that's taking control of those kits at that point in time. They need to be responsible, and there's even though genetics certainly plays a part, y'all are to be commended because you did something right on the second end, or the other half of that time. That B side of their life was just as crucial as the first 5 weeks, and matching up that buck and doe and so on. Okay, so I know I'm talking to a grand champion, but what would you have done different?
Well, my brothers had mites in their ears, and so one of his got disqualified. So check for, or like prevent mites more next time. I don't know.
I'm glad we switched to giving them the Crocs. First 2 years we did use iron supplement in their water. I don't know if I should say the name or not, but it's Red Cell. We didn't see any benefit of it. We would even do a plain and a Red Cell deal, because that's,
see if they would drink any different.
Yeah, and I didn't see much benefit out of it, so we just kind of.
Did you give them any vitamins by chance? No vitamins. Okay.
It may all be in that one crack.
No name.
Well, no.
Not much.
It's hard to change. It's hard to change when you've had the luck or the direction that we've been falling into. We just started this way and fell into it, and we want to share. We don't want to keep it a secret, not until at least after she graduates. Maybe we'll let everything out. But
well, as far as the audience is concerned, what would you say to someone just starting out?
It's a good project to start a young person in doing. I told everybody at the fair that's where I would start. We started years ago with pigs, commercial heifers and pigs, and it was overwhelming to a certain point. And this is a perfect that the kids can do. They can do it pretty much all, except help them Sundays weigh, help them Sundays clean up. Just make sure, just kind of go behind them. But they can do this project. All the other projects, they can't hardly just do it by themselves, and it's rewarding for them to be able to say, "Hey, I did it,"
Right. Yeah, and one of the things I would say that's great about rabbits is that you can do it in town.
Yes.
I mean, y'all have a wonderful place out here, and obvious acreage, but you're keeping the rabbits in what's smaller than a garage for a lot of people. And we've sold a lot of cages to people who have done their rabbit projects in their garage, or on the back side of a shed, or on the back porch, a lean-to or something like that. So that is a big plus as far as the rabbits are concerned, that you don't have to have a huge piece of land or anything like that.
I think number one about being very successful is just consistency. Consistent air, consistent water, consistent feed, consistent timing.
Feed them at the same time every day. Don't go like 10 a.m. or 6 a.m. Do like 7 every morning.
That routine.
Yeah, and you're tied down. It's a 5 week, and we're lucky because we keep them for 5 weeks. Some counties they have to breed, and then they have to grow that kit to 70 days old. Luckily, we get them for 5 weeks, and we just finish them off.